If your money feels inconsistent or unstable, it's not just you. At the time that I'm filming this video, Uranus is sort of wrapping things up in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus has everything to do with money. So the instability, the ups and downs, we've all been experiencing this to a certain extent. But as Uranus is getting ready to move out of Taurus, we're starting to see where the dust is settling in terms of our personal finances. And that has a lot to do with our money habits. Now, our money habits speak a lot to Venus. And at least at the time that I am filming this, Venus is in the sign of Taurus. So we've got Venus and Uranus in Taurus, which has a lot to do with our spending habits, how we view money, how we value money, and the instabilities that have been happening in order to get us to have financial freedom. So, if you want to know more specifically about how your spending habits contribute to all of this, then stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new around here, hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if you're new, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So this video was all about money. I mean, we all typically have money on our minds for a better part of the day, week, month, and year. We want to stabilize it. We want to grow it. We want to make more. We want to buy all the things and do all the things and have financial freedom. Now, financial freedom is I'm not going to say heavy topic. It's been an emphasized topic for a while, but specifically since Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus. Now, Uranus first entered Taurus back in 2018. So Uranus has spent about 8 years in the sign of Taurus, the bull. Think of the bull on Wall Street, right? Finances and how to really take the bull by the horns and make more money, right? But here's the thing with Uranus and Taurus. It's been a financial roller coaster. It may have felt like feast to famine, broke to not so broke, windfalls of cash, and then bankruptcy. Like Uranus will really take you on a roller coaster when it comes to money. Things become unstable, unpredictable, right? Think of the stock market and how it goes up and down wildly at times. That's very much indicative of how Uranus and Taurus has really been and how we've been experiencing it. But here's the thing about Uranus. Uranus doesn't do this for shits and giggles. Uranus creates instability to sift out anything that doesn't give you freedom. Uranus wants to liberate you from outdated thinking, from things that hold you back. And with Uranus and Taurus, this has everything to do with finances, right? Now, what has kept us in shackles when it comes to this freedom that Uranus is trying to give us? Well, one very major example of Uranus and Taurus and how this has been happening has been cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, I remember when the Occupy Wall Street movement was happening. I was actually working on Wall Street at the time. And I would literally see the people camped out and protesting every single day for what seemed like months. And how out of that came this sort of deregulated financial system that we've come to know as cryptocurrency, where it's sort of ephemeral in a way. You can't literally touch it. You can't, it's digital. The government doesn't have their hands on it. And this seemed to be the answer to the very highly regulated government influence of money and currency as we know it. But here's the thing with Uranus and Taurus, and I actually wrote about this on Threads not too long ago. I talked about how, Uranus was supposed to liberate us from the financial shackles, but what ended up happening with cryptocurrency, right? It's now this, although I do think, my personal opinion, I do think that it is valuable, Taurus, value, all that stuff, but not in the way that we've been seeing it, thinking about it, and using it. So many people have been scammed with it. Crypto bros, it just makes the whole concept seem less than desirable and definitely less than secure. And I think that crypto will need several iterations before it really does replace finances as we have come to know them up until now, right? But the whole point is that Uranus has gotten us to think about different ways of making money, of regulating money, or should I say deregulating money, or of just the concept of money in general. And so as Uranus sort of makes its way out of Taurus, we're left with, so what is it that we value? What does money mean like what does money mean to us, right? And this is not only a collective thing that we're thinking and figuring out together, it's also deeply personal. And this is going to become evident as Venus moves into her home sign of Taurus for the next month. Now, when it comes to your spending habits, Venus can typically tell you what that looks like, right? Venus can tell you you like to spend on beauty products, particularly if you have Venus in your first house or Venus in Taurus. Or maybe you are the type of person who loves to shower your romantic partner with gifts because you've got Venus in the seventh house. Now, those are just very sort of very vague surface level explanations, but you get what I'm trying to say. Wherever Venus is in your natal chart can tell you about your spending habits. And side note, if you are someone who really wants to know not just your Venus placement, but all your placements in your natal chart, but you don't know where to look, it's an endless rabbit hole of YouTube videos, of Google searches. Some people even turn to Chat GPT or AI to help them understand their natal chart, which I'm not even going to front, inaccurate, extremely inaccurate. I think I have the answer for you. So I just launched this digital product called Astrology Translated. Now, this is the quick and dirty on how to read your natal chart using my specific chart decoding formula. Super simple. You can do this in under half an hour and you can learn how to understand and read every placement in your natal chart. If you're interested, it just launched. The link is in the description box below. Check it out, get it, especially because everyone's talking about astrology these days. And especially if you go on a site like Threads where people are throwing astrology jargon all over the place, you can quickly become lost. But it's not just about keeping up with everyone else who's talking about astrology, it's about knowing yourself. And this particular training helps you do that quickly, comprehensively, and easily. So again, if you're interested, link is in the description box below, and it is also tagged to this video. All right, so now let's get back to Venus and your spending habits. Now, sometimes there may be a disconnect between how you spend and your idea of wealth. Uranus in Taurus has been working on our ideas of wealth, our ideas of money, and Venus in Taurus is really going to help understand where you're at so you can bridge the gap between your reality and that ideal. So, this is the perfect time to reassess your financial life, right? So, when you look at your Venus, you can understand, hey, I am someone who has Venus in a water sign. So, perhaps my Venus is very tied to my emotions, right? And my intuition. Or maybe I have Venus in an air sign. So, it has a lot to do with how I think and perhaps speaking and communicating with people. When you understand that, you can really understand your spending habits. And if you want to know more about that, I actually did a video on that a couple of months ago. You can check it out here and you can really understand how Venus speaks to your financial life and to your spending habits. But I digress. When it comes to that ideal of wealth and how your spending habits can sort of work with that ideal, look to your Venus sign. And also look to sort of what has been going on in your personal finances, at least since Uranus has been in Taurus. So, over the last 8 years, what has changed about your financial situation? Like, have you gotten a new job, right? Have you started a business? Have you gotten a promotion? Have you lost a job, gotten laid off? All of these things can contribute to your ideal of wealth, what you think about wealth, what value you place when it comes to money. And now you just have to look at your Venus sign and this new ideal and start making decisions and start taking actions to, again, bridge that gap between your reality and the ideal. So you're probably wondering, okay, how do I bridge the gap between my spending habits and this new idea of wealth and money? That's why I created the Money and Astrology Playbook. This is everything that you need to start understanding where you're at and helping you get to where you want to go. So you can understand your spending habits, understand timing when it comes to Venus transits, especially for 2026, and help reprogram your subconscious so you start thinking, feeling, and believing different thoughts about money. This is a fully comprehensive thing that you can use to help you make different decisions, and most importantly, when to make those decisions. So if you're interested in the Money and Astrology Playbook, the link is in the description box below, as well as tagged to this video. Now, this is something that's ongoing. It's not necessarily something that's going to be a one-shot deal where you're like, okay, I think about this, let me just do this, and that's it. Uranus and Taurus has changed the way that we collectively think about wealth and we think about money. And Uranus is also a planet that is future looking. So, any of these changes, these upheavals that we've been experiencing, is to take us into the future. Perfect example, everything is digital now. Very few things are analog. I happened to go to a funeral yesterday for a dear family friend. And, when people were giving their eulogies for him, they were saying how, he was an older gentleman. He was in his upper 80s. But they said he never trusted online banking. He preferred to go into the bank, speak to the teller, and develop a relationship and do all of those things. As a matter of fact, I still have family members that do that. Me personally, apart from the fact that I don't really like to interact with people like that, please don't judge me, but I love everything digital. I love that I can pull out my phone, make a transfer, pay a bill, get paid, all of these things. This is a very strong deviation from where we were even 20 years ago, right? Now that is changing. And that evolution of wealth, of money, of how we think about it is going to continue to change. But at this juncture, how you think about money, how you interact with money may be quite different than it was 8 years ago. So it's time for you to examine that. And then look at your spending habits via your Venus sign so that you can understand how to bridge that gap and how to align with this new ideal of wealth as opposed to sticking with the tried and true that may keep you stuck and that may keep you stagnant when it comes to wealth and wealth accumulation, right? Now, keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor by any stretch of the imagination. However, I am a professional astrologer, and I can see not only in my chart, but in the charts of the numerous countless clients that I have counseled, how their spending habits literally are mapped by their Venus sign. But it's not just about, okay, I understand my spending habits. All right, cool. What do you do with it? And in understanding your spending habits, it's not just I've got Venus and Taurus I like to spend on products. Now it's about, okay, sometimes the shadow side of that. Venus and Taurus could possibly be a little too materialistic, wanting to collect all the things, wanting to keep up with the Joneses, but maybe not saving for a rainy day. You got to look at the shadow side, look at the positive aspects of your Venus sign to understand how you are designed to spend, to accumulate wealth. And then take a look at where we're going as a society in terms of money and use that information to take you into the future. All right, that's pretty much all I've got for you for this video. Hopefully it was informative. If it was, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe and set notifications so you never miss another video. And let me know in the comments, where is your Venus sign? What are your spending habits like? For me, my Venus is in Scorpio. And yes, I can be an emotional spender, but I also surprisingly like to spend money on things that can transform my life. I've done it with education. I've done it with products. I've done it with a lot of things, and that very much speaks to my Venus in Scorpio. However, the shadow side of my Venus in Scorpio is that emotional spending, girl, my credit card does not like to see me being in an emotional crisis. Okay. But understanding that, I know how to curb it, I know how to work with it so that I can reach that ideal of wealth accumulation. And hopefully you can do the same. All right. So if you're interested in getting astrology translated, the link is in the description box below, as well as tagged to this video. If you want to get into my signature natal chart experience, which is the blueprint, all the information for that is also in the description box below. All right, my loves. So thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.